What's going on, everybody? This is Abby here with another episode of Modern Day Unicorns. And now I have another guest. Her name is Kel. I was actually on her podcast a while back, and now it's only right that I bring her back into this space to discuss more of the amazing things that she's doing. Kel, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Abby. I love speaking to you, and I think it's so cool that we've met virtually in the context of being, female filmmakers in this space and just creatives. And I've loved kind of following you along on your journey. I think we've been encouraging and inspiring each other along the way. So yeah, I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you, to be honest. And even before we get into this conversation, listeners, it is so important and critical that we take the time. I know networking is like a big and sometimes even a harsh word, especially if you're like introverted, which I am
Yeah.
more introverted than you all would believe, but making connections with people, let's say that making connections with individuals, be it online or in person, is critical. So Kel and I,
Yeah.
we found each other through a mutual group that we're in and had a conversation, just a regular conversation. And now this is our third one online. And I was telling her just earlier that I look forward to continuing to be in communication with her.
Absolutely. Me too.
So let's get this thing started. Kel, please
Yeah.
tell us more about yourself, where you're from, and what you do.
Sure. So my name is Kel Grant. I'm based in New Jersey. I am a filmmaker, and I will say that I used to call myself an aspiring filmmaker, but I've started to take that caveat away. So I am a full-blown filmmaker, although I do that on the side in my own kind of personal production company called Arbez Films. I specialize in short-form social media video and video strategy. And then for my full-time job, I'm actually a content operations specialist for a technology company. And I like having both of those because my full-time job allows me to have a steady income while I pursue my passion in my small business. So that's a little bit about me and the journey I'm on currently.
And I love that, being intentional with saying who you are and what you do. I know my journey has been interesting in claiming the things that
Mm,
we're doing. I believe also in this digital space that we're in nowadays, it's harder for us to define what we do, or we shy away from what we think that we do,
right.
because it's unexplored territory, if you will. And so
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times that job description wasn't, even if it is a job, or that description, or to be able to say that wasn't a thing, 5, 10 years ago. So I
Yeah.
say to myself, like, I say, all right, I'm a digital media strategist, and people are like, what? You're a digital media strategist? I'm like, yeah, man, I need to be a part of the process for whatever we're creating, so that we can make sure that the goals are being met. I don't just take pictures or make little videos that you post, but there's a process to it, and you have to, I guess what I'm trying to say is that we are creating new realms of how to operate ourselves in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, like I feel like especially in this space you have to constantly be evolving and changing with the times. I wasn't focused on video strategy even last year. I was just focused on production, and then I realized the need for having kind of a full-blown digital media strategist perspective to the art I was creating. And I realized that, in order to keep leveling up, maybe I do have to expand into other areas. Like, right now I'm just doing short form social media content. And that doesn't include flying a drone. Maybe that's a service I need to add on. It doesn't include photography. And I've seen a lot of businesses really be able to thrive and expand by just expanding their services and being kind of a jack of all trades and being able to switch that camera from video settings to photo settings and kind of deliver a full package. Couple that with videos and photo strategy for social media. I mean, it's just a force to be reckoned with. So I think that constantly, as long as we're thinking about these things, I think we're in great shape. But yeah, especially as pardon me, as creatives, I think sometimes these things are on the back burner and we think about them maybe for ourselves, but as creative entrepreneurs, that's when we need to start bringing these ideas to the forefront for our clientele. Because if we want to stand out from the millions of other local even videographers and photographers, we have to bring a little bit of extra something to the table.
Isn't it amazing how growing up they kind of told us not to be a jack of all trades. And now, like,
Right.
literally, you can't not be. Like, there's multiple platforms to be on. There's multiple different editing softwares if that's what you're doing. But I don't know one position where it's just like, just focus on this one thing and you'll be fine.
Yeah, and to that point, in the areas that I find that I can't expand into, like I've because of the nature of the niche I'm in, I've found clients come to me like, hey, can you help me build a website or can you help me do this? And like that's not really my interest. It's not really my forte. So it's networking and finding people who you can constantly, add to your network and refer for your clients. So it's like, maybe I can't personally give this service to you, but I'm going to keep you in my circle by giving you what I can do and then referring out to a friend or a creative partner for this other service. So it's finding creative ways to like fill in the gaps that you don't have as well.
And that's an amazing point. I actually just had an experience recently to where a friend of mine, of course, and being creative, we feel like we can learn just about anything in a relatively decent
Mm-hmm.
amount of time. And it had to do with
Right.
animation. And on good faith, I was just like, I'm gonna get back to you. I'll entertain this challenge, which I like from time to time.
Yeah.
But I got to thinking, and I was like, Abby, I was like, this is your friend. You want them to have the best, and me practicing is not the best. So I had to say, hey, I'm sorry. I don't want to give you things that I'm just trying for the first time. So I won't be able to service you this time. But if you need some pictures or you need some videos, that's my lane. So could you,
Yeah.
I want to speak a little bit more to what you have kind of like been trained for and how you've been able to, in a sense, niche down. Can you take us through that project? Because I feel like you're just exposed to so much in school. So can you tell us how you went to school and how today you're saying this is the community that I'm serving?
Yeah, I'll bring you through the journey. So I actually started with public speaking. When I was younger, I was in 4-H, and they're basically like livestock and agriculture clubs. I grew up on a farm, so part of this program, this community program, was you bring the animals and they're like livestock shows, and then you also give presentations to the public on the differences between a llama and an alpaca or how to milk a goat and stuff like that. So from a very young age, I was always like very comfortable being in front of an audience. So naturally when I became of college going age, I was looking for programs that allowed me to expand on those skills. And naturally, all my advisors were kind of leading me into the direction of in front of the camera. So doing broadcasting, things like that. So I went to, I jumped around from a few different colleges, but my program in all of them was a combination of like radio and television production. So anything that allowed me to kind of be on camera, be on air, utilizing those skills. I also played sports. I played basketball. But when I got injured, I ended up switching specifically to sports broadcasting. Because it was kind of just like I already have knowledge of the game. I know what I'm talking about, and I can utilize those public speaking skills on air. And it was funny. There was a moment when I was in the booth in college and I was getting ready for a game, and I look up at the Jumbotron and I see the hype videos for the team. And I was just sitting there and I was like, no, I think I want to do that. And so I began kind of editing and taking on opportunities that allowed me to have more creative control behind the camera. So that's when I began starting to. I actually did start with the hype videos and the sports videos, so making short form content for my school for that department, and I kind of branched out to other departments. But I think that having both sets of skills has set me up really nicely. I think if you have an understanding of what it is to be in front of the camera, you can have more of an appreciation for that when you're behind the camera, and vice versa. And I think those skills do translate. So I decided to kind of give it my all when I realized that I had the talent and the technical skills to be able to actually do this, the editing part of it. It took me a while to learn the programs and the software, but I had some really great mentors in college and a lot of extracurricular opportunities to practice. And that was, that made all of the difference. It was one thing sitting in your class for an hour and a half or whatever it was, and, applying the skills, but then being able to take those skills outside and apply them to the context of things that I was interested in, like sports and theater and things of that nature. And I started to really kind of chase this feeling of, I guess what you'd call it is external validation. Every time I would make a video, I would kind of, if I was posted on social media, I'd keep an eye on the comments and I'd keep an eye on the stats. And I was like, oh, this hype video I made for the football team for the homecoming game got like 300 retweets and all these views and these comments. And it was like, I started to, there was no greater feeling to me than being able to kind of elicit these emotions in people, all from what I was able to do in the edit and kind of creatively bring these emotions out. And I just kind of just kept chasing that feeling of being able to influence the audience in a very intentional way. And I was able to do that kind of in whatever form I was going for. So with the sports videos, it was like getting them hyped, getting them amped up. And then I would also take those skills and I made a video for my sister for her 15th birthday and just, kind of, I made my whole family cry with that video. Like it was just kind of a tribute to her. And I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. But I knew that in order to follow that passion, kind of postgraduate after college, that I needed to do so by giving myself a security blanket. And that is when I found my full-time job and decided that I wanted to do freelancing on the side and then eventually launching my production company. But I still do both of those things. And I find that I was able to kind of reduce that pressure of having this as my full-time job, because with this flexibility of having a stable income, I'm able to take on projects that I want to take on. I'm able to say no to projects that I don't. And I'm able to just find opportunities to create really awesome projects and be really intentional about the projects I'm selecting. So I know that was a mouthful, but that's kind of how I got from A to B.
No, and it's great. And I love the fact that you brought out that, there are certain people who are choosing to have full time jobs and do
Mm-hmm.
freelance work or have a business on the side. And that is what gives them the comfort that they need to continue to pursue it. And there's the other people that need to go full on. I can totally, uh, you know, appreciate what a full time job has done, in terms of not necessarily needing it. Because, yeah, even in my situation with me being full time,
Mm-hmm.
you find yourself kind of compromising on or doing things that you're just not interested in for the sake
Yeah.
of, being able to make some money for that particular time period. At this time, I'm an educator, so I still have a love for education, but sometimes I go and I substitute at a school just to supplement my income if I don't have any gigs going on, and just, continue to work on my stuff on the side. But I
Yeah.
feel like it's a great point. So my question to you would be, um, and I love that also that the fact that your full time job has something to do with what you already do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are you creating content or kind of just overseeing it at your
So
current job?
yeah, at my current job, I'm actually, my title is Senior Content Operations Specialist, which basically is a fancy term to describe the project management of asset creation for the marketing department. So we're data protection software. So every time we launch a new product or service, and I know, super, super exciting, but no, it's funny. I actually don't understand like the technicality of it at all, but I know what goes into good marketing. So I can help with the asset creation, but basically I'm a project manager managing the content creation process from conception all the way to delivery and publishing, and then following up with like metrics and measurement. So it's really cool because some of those assets are videos, but a lot of them are flyers and brochures and infographics and other marketing collateral, solution briefs, things of that nature. So I feel like I'm actually getting more of a well-rounded marketing background from my current position when I didn't study marketing in college. But the reason I was able to get this job is because they were impressed at my ability to kind of use both sides of my brain, you know, having that really creative side, but then also being, having had some, you know, account management and project management experience, being able to work with the logistics of a project as well. So I think both of those skill sets combined nicely to allow me to succeed in the current role that I have.
And that brings out the importance of just having experiences,
Yeah.
and trying things, and succeeding and also failing. One of the things that you mentioned before, in with you making hype videos, you making videos for your family, is your ability to evoke certain emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And with emotions and storytelling, like honestly, you can give, sell, influence, persuade anybody if you can get to the heart of how to present this media, be it video or audio or what have you. Can
Mm-hmm.
you talk about a little bit of how you harnessed those skills, and how you built up that ability to tell a story and evoke the type of emotion that you wanted to get out of it?
Yeah, so I think that actually started when I was very young. I was always really um, into writing, and I didn't really think about this until I was able to reflect on, like, you know, what my childhood was like. I used to put on, like, I used to write. I had this stuffed animal. This is so specific, but I had this stuffed animal named Mr. Bear, and he was this like plush little, cute little stuffed animal thing, and I would write stories like in my free time, not for school, about the adventures of Mr. Bear, like novel length stories, just about. I always had such a creative imagination, and I've always needed an outlet for that. um, when you're a kid, you write about what you know. So it was about, my stuffed animals around my room, or it was adventures about my family when I got I say got because my sister and I are adopted. When we adopted my younger sister, my writing and my stories became about the adventures of my baby sister and I, and things of that nature. So it really wasn't until um, I saw commercials on TV where I realized like the true power of storytelling. Because you watch a movie and like you can understand like all the things that go into that, and that's like a longer form story. But I was really captivated as I got older with the idea that in 30 seconds, and even now 15 seconds, 5-second ads, you have the ability to convey a message. So I think over the course of my life, I kind of channeled all of that creative, imaginative energy into being concise and being a concise storyteller. How can I, a lot of my projects in school, it was taking, you know, hours of footage or a 5-minute narration and saying, okay, how can I get this message across in the least amount of time and therefore the most effective way? So I think it was this exercise of like, and what I do with a lot of my projects is kind of brain dump and like get everything out that I want to say. If it's or if even if it's in the case of the hype video, we've been talking about this. Let's go back there. It's, you know, taking hours worth of footage of these football teams or these basketball teams, and especially like if you're telling the story of their entire season, say this is like the final championship game, and you want to put a hype video that illustrates their entire season. It's finding the narrative you want to say. So I want to talk about how maybe this team in particular is, they were the underdogs at the start of the season. So I'm going to start with some audio of, Monmouth University loses again. Monmouth University, all these headlines of, creamed 35 to 10, something like that, to kind of illustrate that part of it. Like, oh, they weren't doing so hot. And then it's the story of the comeback, right? And then the music changes, and you're adding footage of baskets being scored and teammates high-fiving and the crowd getting amped and all of this stuff. And then if the conclusion of the video is bringing you to the present moment, maybe it's footage of them, slow motion the light coming out from behind them, walking onto the court, entering their final game, and there's audio about them. We're leaving it all on the floor. Maybe it's the coach's like prep speech in the locker room, things like that. So it's like, and I can do all of that in 30 seconds or less. So I know that was kind of a long-winded example, but it's really like being intentional about the story you want to tell. I could write a documentary about the journey of this basketball team through the whole season, but that requires a different process. I want to be concise and for 30 seconds make this audience feel something very specific. So my process is going to be a little bit different for that. I hope that answered your question.
Listen, I visualized that entire thing, so that was an amazing illustration, and I think that
Awesome.
that's the great part about this. And people also they don't they can't quantify on two sides. Like 30 seconds is short, but 30 seconds is also a lifetime when you
Yeah.
have to put these narratives together. And so even when it comes to people like, oh yeah, I just want this short, 30-second video, I'm just like, it's not short. Or even when they say
Yeah.
a minute, I cringe. I'm just like, you just don't understand what you just said to me. But
Right.
I'm just, I would love for you to dig a little bit deeper, or at least tell the audience the transition that we're in. But it's not even a transition anymore. We are in the short form era of content,
Yeah.
flat out. We went from the movie stage to the YouTubes where it was a little bit longer, and now we are in this Instagram. TikTok has made it even shorter
Yeah.
to where you have to convey your message in that 1 to like 29, 15ish second mark. Can
Yeah.
you talk about how, well, you gave us a great description on how you can kind of visualize how you can get something into an edit, but just talk to us a little bit more about the importance of short form. And then my follow-up question to that is, do you think that we are in for a change in the near future?
Yeah, I think that our attention, so the reason short form content is so prevalent right now is because the social media apps that we're consuming are just prioritizing this content. I mean, it used to be, and back when like Vine was a thing, those were like short videos, and like that was, I think, like the start of it. And then these other apps started like Musically, which I think got bought out by TikTok eventually or something like that. So then you move to TikTok, and then because TikTok was this really big trending app that specialized in kind of short form, very scrollable content, Instagram Reels then became a thing that's basically a mimic of that. And then Facebook came out with like Facebook Stories, and YouTube came out with YouTube Shorts. So wherever I guess trends are really easy to spot with social media, because if one app is successful with one thing, you can almost assume that all the other apps are going to kind of follow suit. And it just so happens that all of these social media apps are trending towards shorter and shorter form content. The ads for that I'm creating for Instagram and TikTok now literally are like 10 seconds. And I've, entering a conversation with a client, they're like, I'm paying you how much for 10 seconds? It's like, in order to be effective on this platform, you need to kind of follow the times. And if I actually say it's, like I said, the signs of an effective video is if I can get my message across in the least amount of time.
Hmm.
And I think that skill is going to become so much more important as we continue to kind of follow the wave of the trends of these apps, because our attention spans are only getting shorter and shorter and shorter. I mean, I'd imagine that like most people are spending their time on places like TikTok and Instagram, and they're not necessarily, they're going to YouTube for very specific things. If I want to sit down and watch a tutorial and learn how to do something, then I'll go to YouTube. If I want to watch a video podcast, then I'll go to YouTube. But they're spending most of their time on these kind of social media apps that are prioritizing short form visual content. So do I think there's going to be a new change? I think there could be. I haven't, seen anything that indicates that we're not already on the right track. I mean, like I said, like I've been working with clients where it's like, let's do some testing, right? Let's test a 5-second ad versus a 10-second ad versus a 30-second ad. And as you start to like test out these shorter form videos, something like 30 seconds feels like an hour when you're when you're working in the ad space and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. But I think that the apps are driven by the people who consume them, and vice versa. And I think our because of that, our attention spans are just getting shorter and shorter. So I think from now into the future, it's going to be more of the same, prioritizing that short form media content.
Mm. This week I'm kind of focusing a lot on purpose for
Mm,
my audience, right? And um, what what I want to say is that the short form is kind of like the hook. So we're talking about knowing what you want to give your audience and trying to
mm-hmm.
make a complete message in the shortest amount of time.
Yeah.
And the Instagram and TikToks and YouTube shorts of the world are the hook that get people's attention and say, "Oh, that was interesting. I want to know more." So you go from like that 1 to 30 second or even 1 minute, then maybe you have that minute to 5 minute, which might be like in the YouTube space or
Right.
maybe even on your website. And then it digs deeper or goes further into like the coursework and things of that nature. But honestly, you kind of have to develop in all three areas between the short, the medium, and the long form content in order to complete your message, if you will. So it's like
Yeah.
a course. It is the appetizer. It is, there's a few I haven't gone to like a 6 or 8 course meal, but anyway, you have those you have those little samples before you have the meal and the dessert. So it's putting together an entire experience for people, which is
Yeah.
why even with this podcast, so with this podcast, we have the long form content, which is a full conversation that you and I have. We put it
Mm-hmm.
in two places, audio and video. Then I can go and chop it up. I can do a chop up from anything from a 3 to 5 minute that I can put on YouTube again. And then I can make multiple clips that are from, 5 seconds to 30 seconds. And there's so many different pieces of media that can be created for the varying consumption levels as well as the attention span. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I always want to drive home with people. It's just like, it's not, you can't just, you almost can't just make one video these days. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't serve a purpose if you don't have
Yeah.
one thing that feeds into others.
Exactly. And that's where the video strategy comes in, right? I mean, every single product that I've bought has been influenced by these ads and video ads specifically. It's different types of content to accomplish different things. And the idea of funnel strategy, right, is starting with a very short promo video that accomplishes, like you said, one thing. It's maybe giving you one perk of this specific product. And then and then there's different variations of that specific ad talking about different perks. So maybe with ad retargeting, you see the one perk and you're like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, you keep scrolling. You open up another social media app, you see a same company, a different promo video talking about another perk, and you're like, oh, okay, this is interesting. You click through to the website. One of the highest converting videos that I've been able to make have been testimonial videos, because people want to see how this product works in action and how it's been affecting the lives of customers who've already invested the money into the product or the system or the service. So it's, then going to the testimonial section of the website and watching, if I can watch, a 1 to 2 minute video of somebody either unboxing the product and walking us through the application, or talking about how it's changed their life, or if it's skincare, it's cleared up their skin, how this hair product works, the whole nine. And then it's like, okay, I believe that this product works, but like, who is this company? That's when we go to something like a brand message video or an about me, my story video. And that is where you kind of learn to, they really learn to trust the business because they see who's running the business and they say, oh, I really do want to invest in this person, kind of thing. So it's, like you said, all of these videos working together to, in the video strategy space, really convert to sales. And so it's just an interesting kind of question for your audience to ask themselves. What's the last thing they purchased based on a targeted Instagram ad or something of that nature? Because I think like that's just a testament to how effective this can be. And you can do that with static imagery. But doing it with video makes it all the more powerful, especially because nowadays the trick is to make your ads look less like ads. Make them look like they're, you're just scrolling through your stories and then you see a video and you're like, oh, wait, this isn't somebody I know. This is a sponsored ad from a company. And one more thing I'll say about that is something that's been really popular lately due to TikTok has been these UGC style videos, which stands for user generated content. So it's for, in the case of a lot of the companies or the clients that I have, it's hiring models to, have your product, just film on their iPhone, open up your product in front of the camera and just talk about it. And the other thing that made me a little bit getting into this industry, I've become a little bit more skeptical about the ads that I see, because I know on the creation side, like, we're feeding these people a script. They may have never used this product before in their lives. But they're sitting here saying, I've been using this for a week. Look how clear my skin is. Meanwhile, the product is literally unopened in front of them. So with that, and I'm, it's like I get paid to do this stuff. So hopefully I'm not out of a job by saying this. But I think as consumers of content that we also are getting smarter and also can tell when something is disingenuous, or when you see too many UGC ads, to kind of explore more, which might lead you to poking through the website and finding the brand message video and seeing and kind of investigating further. So I think it all comes full circle, but the various types of content serve various purposes. But it's all for sales, man. At the end of the day, it's all to get your
For
money.
sales and views. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that I love that you brought out is, yeah, they're creating an atmosphere to where it is very much like plain. So I have a client or two as well, and it's just like, okay, I can't make this look too polished, or if it is polished, it's overly polished, and it's like 100% like gimmicky and
Yeah.
transitiony, to be like, yeah, we're having fun with this on purpose, but everything
Hmm.
else is just like, I mean, I could use my camera, but I don't necessarily have to. I
Right.
could just use my phone so that people can connect more with it. But so that's been interesting for me as well, to be like, okay, I can't, 4K doesn't really matter in this situation.
Right.
What I want to ask is, with these businesses, right? Because I think this is important for businesses to understand as well, that approaching content creators or approaching, media houses, when it comes to it, it's a transition between saying I need a video to I need a video experience, right?
Mm.
You are going to have to have more. It's more than one situation.
Yeah.
It's not something that you can just, a one and done. It doesn't benefit you in any way.
Exactly.
How do you motivate or target companies who understand that concept, to say this is why the pricing is, and this is why you need X, Y, and Z?
So I found that you have to illustrate why the system works. And in my case, I've done, videos for organic social, but I'm specifically talking about paid social media ads, meaning you create a video, you load it into Facebook Ads Manager, you target a specific audience, you're paying for this media to be put in front of that specific audience. And then there's kind of a retargeting loop. I have a chart that brings people through that process and says, okay, your audience may start here. based on their demographics. Maybe they're between the ages of 24 and 35, female, Hispanic woman, who's interested in X, Y, and Z. They're going to see this ad on Instagram. That's going to put them into the funnel. So when they go on to TikTok or Facebook or whatever, they're going to see another ad for your company. And it's kind of like you continue to knock on their door, right? It's like, hey, I'm here. And like, oh, hey, do you remember me? I'm still here. And then eventually, like, this sounds so bad, but like eventually you kind of wear down the potential customer, and they're starting to think like, subconsciously, I'm seeing this everywhere. Like, it's worth me checking out. Because as you continue to have brand exposure and awareness, people just, by default, are more interested in that. Or even if they don't go and click through to your website, they're remembering your name or your branding, because when they see it again, they recognize it, right?
Do you know who's after me right now?
Who?
Small rig.
They're gonna get you.
After me hard. Listen, they showed one for this rig that they have for the GoPro, so where you can also plug in your wireless Go, your Rode Wireless Go, and I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yes, snap mounts for GoPro got me, and it's funny. It's like sometimes you get these products and like I haven't used my GoPro in quite some time, so it's like the snap mounts are just sitting over there, but it's like that, it's effective marketing. And that's at the end of the day, like, I think I didn't really understand marketing because I didn't study it in college, right? And I didn't in college. My production education was, this is how you can elicit an emotion, a specific emotion in an audience, but it wasn't really targeting and saying, in a marketing sense, this is why you want to do that. So when I'm pitching this to a client, it's saying, you can do, sure, you can do one video and that'll reduce your cost, but you're missing out on the rest of the funnel, because once they click, say they do that promo video, they're going to want to see testimonials. So you're reducing your probability of them buying your product or buying your service or wanting to learn more, because you don't have the additional assets for them to learn more or for them to keep digging. And that's the thing, like when you're buying something, with snap mounts, for example, I saw the ad on Instagram. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then the first thing I did before I decided to buy it was to go to YouTube and look up snap mount reviews. And those are all sponsored too, which is great. But it's like, okay, I'm seeing it in action. And then, I go to the website and I'm seeing how they came up with the technology and like why it works and why it's better than other systems. And so, that's what really drew me in at the end of the day, because I think that, not a lot of us have the disposable income to be able to see a product right away and say, oh, I like that, let me buy it on the spot. Like, we kind of have to be convinced. And that is the power of video strategy and kind of funneling customers through that experience, as you said.
All true. I have to look at the phones and everything like that. They hear everything. I probably have small rig on my phone for the rest of the week, and that's okay. So I'm interested to know what it would take for you, what systems would need to be in place for you to feel comfortable, if it's even a desire for you to do it full time for Our Best Films.
Yeah, Our Best Films. At this present time, I don't see it as being a reality for me yet, because I haven't, and I think I mentioned this on your other the last time we chatted, but I'm pivoting my niche specifically towards Latinx small businesses. So I'm working on a pilot program for that at the moment. After I pilot that program, if I'm able to get a queue of, reliable projects and great clients and things like that, maybe there is a point in time in which I can say, all right, let me scale this and really go full time. But for me, in order to do it right full-time would mean scaling up and hiring out and, expanding my team and really being a national service. So business owners in LA and business owners in Arizona and Texas and other places in the world can call upon our services because we're so niche that people will seek us out. But at the present time, I have to, having my full-time job allows me to test this, right? To see if this will even work and allow me to experiment. Because with the pilot program, the idea is that I'd be working with a Latinx business owner who understands that this is the first initial trial of this product. They are still going to pay a price for it. Maybe it's slightly discounted, or maybe there's extra things added on, or maybe it's another Latinx service that we have a swap for services. Maybe it's a type of barter system or something of that nature, but it's allowing me the caveat to say, okay, this is a very intentional project. I'm going to treat you like I would any other client, we're going to go through the entire system. And out of that, the other requirement for the pilot program is, if this works like I think it will work, then, you'll do a testimonial video for me. You'll help film a promo video for me. You'll write a review on Google Review or something like that. So it's kind of cultivating this client experience that allows me to also, go to the next potential client and say, look, I have some social proof on how this worked and stuff like that. So I think if that goes as planned, and every client I'm able to kind of build my repertoire a little bit in this niche, then there might be a point at which I can do that. But honestly, and I think I mentioned this too, with work from home, the sky's the limit. I'm so fortunate to be in a position where right after work, I can, hop over to a gig if I need to, because I don't have to commute, or I can on my lunch break pull up my other laptop and edit a client video or something like that. Like, I have a lot of flexibility, and it also allows, and I think video editing and video being in this creative space is something I will always want to do. But I also love the flexibility of being able to reinvent myself whenever I feel like it. There might be a point in time when I don't want to focus on Latinx small businesses and I don't want to do short form content, and maybe I just want to focus on the podcast, or maybe I want to do another type of video project or an Instagram series, or maybe I want to focus on growing my YouTube channel or something like that. So being able to kind of pivot and still fuel my creativity and fuel this passion I have, I will always appreciate the flexibility and the stability of having a full-time job while being able to kind of explore those creative endeavors. So it's not in the cards for me at the moment, but yeah.
That's completely fine. Like, definitely working from home. I was going to ask you about balance, but being able to have that is great.
Yeah.
Real quick, do you have a team yet? I mean, I know you have your fiance and he gets dragged to certain places.
Right. No, I don't. And the truth of the matter is I do a lot right now. Most of my services are just video editing. So I'm able to kind of do it from home, and I'm such an efficient editor because I have so many years of foundational training under my belt and it's short form content. So it's like, I'm banging these out. At this present time, I don't have, an issue getting all of the work done. But that being said, I'm also not taking on new clients because I know I can't handle any more work at the moment. But I currently don't have a team. I have a few people in mind if I wanted to scale the business. But like I said, that'll kind of depend on the direction of how this pilot program goes. Because if it ends up not working out, I might just stick to video editing services and hire just a freelance video editor to keep up with the demand. But yeah, it's just a one-woman show for now.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for the time that we've spent together thus far.
Of course.
And I would love for you to share. I always get to this point and never know really how to, ask people to do it.
Sure.
Without telling them what to say. But anyway, I would love you to give 3 tips. And you can give your tips to, if it's female filmmakers and Bob the Builder,
Right.
whoever you want. um, just, I guess, whatever's on your heart. What 3 tips would you give for people?
3 tips. So 3 things that have really helped me along in my journey. A few things. So 1, I believe in manifestation, right? I believe that whatever is meant for me will come for me, which has allowed me to not feel so devastated when an opportunity doesn't work out. And granted, we've talked, I have that security blanket of the full-time job, but I think that mindset can be really powerful for anyone who's starting a business, and saying that if very literally, if one door closes, another one will open. And I've just, because I've started to think this way, I really don't get disappointed, and I don't let it affect my confidence, and I don't let it affect my ability to get work done. If an opportunity doesn't work out, I say, okay, that wasn't meant to work out, and they'll find someone better suited, and I'll find someone better suited for me. So that's one thing, kind of really focusing on, your mindset in business. The second thing I'll say, and the tip I have, is you have to do the work. Point blank, period. There is no shortcut. There's no magic potion that will help you magically accomplish your goals for you. You have to put in the work, whether that's 10 minutes a day or every free moment you have. There's just no shortcuts. You have to keep moving forward, incrementally in order to accomplish your goals. I've heard every excuse in the book, but ultimately, if we can only control what we can control, then we have to work with what we have, right? Like, there are a million things that can get in the way of me not accomplishing my dream, or circumstances happening, but I've made a promise to myself that I won't be the reason that I don't accomplish my dreams. I will not self-sabotage. And that's like the funny thing about dreams, is like, if you really have a passion for something, if you were made to do something in life has a way of constantly bringing you back to it. And so if that's the case, instead of trying to fight it and letting all of these excuses, like I've heard, the imposter syndrome, all of these things, instead of letting all of those things get you to detract from what you're ultimately made to do, just, go with it and keep at it and just put in the work. Like I said, little by little, day by day, and you'll get there, because, there are so many things along my journey that I've let get in the way. And ultimately, it's like, I could have accomplished this point so much sooner in my life had I just, buckled down and put in the work, even when I was scared, even when I felt like I didn't have the money, even when I didn't believe in myself, all of those things. And the last tip I have is that everyone's journey looks different. As I've explained, my journey right now is having a full-time job and doing this on the side. And there are other people who jump right out of college into full-time videography and filmmaking. And there are other people that don't go to college, and that's, totally fine. And there are other people who just kind of pursue these creative endeavors in different ways, and there's no right way and there's no wrong way, and you have to kind of find for yourself what that is. And I've found, a system that works for me, that allows me to go at my own pace. And I know that if I'm ever not happy with it, I have the flexibility and the I'm sure enough of myself to be able to pivot. So those are the 3 things I'll leave you with.
Those were wonderful. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Well, Kel, listen, I would love for you to share all of the places and spaces that people can follow, support you, contact you for, questions, if they would like your services and things of that nature. Please share that with us.
Sure. So I believe last time we were on our call, I had said that I was in the process of updating my website, and all those updates have been made. So if you go to arbezfilms.com, you can find, what I do there, at all the work in my portfolio, or most of the work in my portfolio, the services that I offer for Latinx small businesses, and things of that nature, and kind of take a look at my journey and my process through that lens. You can also find me on Instagram at The Real Kel Grant. I'm also on YouTube at Life as Kel is my YouTube channel. And I just do kind of lifestyle vlogging, some filmmaking things, some not on that channel. So if you'd like to follow along there, you can. But yeah, if you guys just want to connect, I'm always looking to make some virtual friends. And as mentioned, I do have a podcast called She's in Focus, where gearing up for the second season now. So if you're a female filmmaker, or if you know anyone who is a female filmmaker, whether they're just starting out on their journey, whether they have an interest in it, or they're a seasoned vet in the industry, I'd love to talk to them to help share their story on the podcast. Yeah, but that's where you can find me.
Yes, and y'all go check out my episode too. Leave a comment and a like and a subscribe as well to She's in Focus. That's with Life as Kel. Is that the YouTube?
Life as Kel. Yeah.
Life as Kel. Listen, Kel, thank you so much once again for joining me. I love our conversations, and like I said, we're gonna keep them up some way, somehow.
Yes.
Thank you to all of our listeners and viewers for taking the time to spend with us today. Please go ahead and like, subscribe, all that great stuff. To Modern Day Unicorns, to all of the various avenues that Kel is on. And if you are a Modern Day Unicorn, if you know anybody that is, I'd love to continue this conversation. But until next time, we will see you.